Urgent Vikings fan. Look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest your team news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Breaking Vikings in communication with veteran quarterback ahead of 2025 season. The Minnesota Vikings are going into the 2025 season with a much different-looking roster. Sam Darnold chose to sign with the Seattle Seahawks after an incredible season with Minnesota. Now the Vikings appear to be moving forward with J.J. McCarthy as their starter in 2025. However, there is one veteran quarterback who has been talking to the team prior to the NFL draft. Breaking Vikings in communication with veteran quarterback ahead of 2025. Season 1 analyst believes the Vikings can bring in a veteran as an insurance policy. If McCarthy's rookie season doesn't go as planned, while the Vikings remain an option for Aaron Rodgers as he takes his time making a free agency decision, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox believes that another veteran will be the best fit, Joe Flacco. While there's been plenty of buzz about the Vikings, and Aaron Rodgers head coach Kevin O'Connell recently told reporters that the quarterback reached out to Minnesota Joe Flacco would be a more sensible option, Knox wrote. Knox added that Flacco, the former $120 million quarterback, has been willing to play the role of mentor in recent seasons, something that could be a great benefit to McCarthy. Flacco showed with the Colts last season that he can support a young quarterback and still be ready to start in a pinch, Knox wrote. He could do the same in Minnesota without drawing the attention that Rodgers inevitably would. Pausing this news, just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Vikes news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Super Bowl winning QB named as best free agent to help Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings have been in the middle of a quarterback conversation all offseason, whether to go with J.J. McCarthy in 2025 or someone else. It started with Sam Darnold, who decided to sign with the Seattle Seahawks as their starting quarterback. Then the Vikings discussed bringing in former Green Bay Packers and New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers before deciding on McCarthy as the starter in 2025. There might be room to add one more quarterback as the backup for Minnesota. Bleacher Reports. Christopher Knox compiled a list of one free agent whom each NFL team can sign to help them. Knox selected Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco as a good fit to be McCarthy's backup. While there's been plenty of buzz about the Vikings, and Aaron Rodgers head coach Kevin O'Connell recently told reporters that the quarterback reached out to Minnesota Joe Flacco would be a more sensible option. Flacco showed with the Colts last season that he can support a young quarterback and still be ready to start in a pinch. He could do the same in Minnesota without drawing the attention that Rodgers inevitably would. Last season, Flacco appeared in 8 games for the Indianapolis Colts, throwing for 1,761 yards and 12 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. The 40-year-old signal caller is best known for being the Baltimore Ravens starter for over a decade and leading the team to a Super Bowl title. Minnesota had Daniel Jones as the backup last year for Darnold. Brett Rypien is the only other quarterback listed on the Vikings roster. The Vikings understand the importance of the backup quarterback position in recent history. Darnold helped Minnesota make the playoffs last year, and Case Keenum took the Vikings to the NFC Championship game in 2018. Flacco has already shown that he can still lead an offense if needed, and Minnesota requires a backup. It could be a perfect marriage that might save the Viking season if they are in a tough spot. Vikings urged to add $120 million quarterback as help for J.J. McCarthy. The Minnesota Vikings appear ready to hand the reins to quarterback J.J. McCarthy after a rookie season cut short by injuries, but one analyst believes the team can bring in a veteran as something of an insurance policy. The Vikings moved on from Sam Darnold after the veteran quarterback's career-best season, leading the Vikings to 14 wins but a disappointing exit in the wild-card round of the NFL playoffs. The team appears ready to move McCarthy back to the top of the depth chart after a knee injury wiped out his rookie year, though McCarthy said in March that the team has not told him that he will be the starter. And I'm happy they didn't, because I try to earn it every single day, and I never want that to be given to me. It's such a privilege and opportunity to give me that chance, and I'm just going to make the most of it every single day, McCarthy said in an interview with Kay Adams. While the Vikings remain an option for Aaron Rodgers as he takes his time making a free agency decision, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox believes that another veteran will be the best fit Joe Flacco. While there's been plenty of buzz about the Vikings, and Aaron Rodgers head coach Kevin O'Connell recently told reporters that the quarterback reached out to Minnesota Joe Flacco would be a more sensible option, Knox wrote. Knox added that Flacco, the former $120 million quarterback, has been willing to play the role of mentor in recent seasons, something that could be a great benefit to McCarthy. Flacco showed with the Colts last season that he can support a young quarterback and still be ready to start in a pinch, Knox wrote. He could do the same in Minnesota without drawing the attention that Rodgers inevitably would. Vikings fan favorite Case Keenum makes surprise move to NFL rival. The Minnesota Vikings are still on the search for a veteran quarterback to pair with J.J. McCarthy. They flirted with Aaron Rodgers for several weeks but have tipped their cap to McCarthy moving forward. Finding the right quarterback who can challenge a young quarterback, be a mentor, be willing to take a step back and still play the game at a high level is a hard balance to strike in a league that demands ultra-competitiveness. One name that remained in free agency was former Vikings hero Case Keenum, the orchestrator of the Minneapolis Miracle that brought the Vikings organization to their last NFC title game. However, this week Keenum found his new home in the NFL with an NFC North rival. On April 4th, the Chicago Bears announced the signing of Case Keenum to a one-year contract, banking that they have found the ideal mentor for Caleb Williams while the Vikings are still searching. A backup for the 2017 season, Keenum was thrust into a starting role after the Vikings lost Teddy Bridgewater to a devastating leg injury the year before and saw Sam Bradford go down with a knee injury 2 games into the season. No matter, Keenum stepped in and went 113 as a starter in the regular season, throwing for 3,547 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. In one of the most prolific finishes in NFL history, Keenum threw for 318 yards in a 29-24 win over the New Orleans Saints in the NFC divisional round, 61 of which came on the iconic connection with Stephon Diggs. A miracle took place in Minneapolis. Picatsus Twitter. Calm QGPPNPI1YH NFL January 14th, 2025. The Vikings went on to lose in the NFC Championship to the eventual Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Keenum signed a 2-year deal with the Denver Broncos the following offseason, but has not reached the same heights he had with the Vikings as a journeyman. He last played for the Houston Texans in 2023, but spent last season on injured reserve. Keenum figures to be a veteran voice for Williams in his first year under new Bears coach Ben Johnson. Meanwhile, Minnesota is still weighing its options with only Brett Ripien in the quarterback room with McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers' Vikings idea wasn't always a pipe dream, insider says. It seems extremely unlikely to happen now, but there was a time where the Vikings were considering Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers almost certainly isn't going to end up on the Minnesota Vikings. Kevin O'Connell and company are moving forward with J.J. McCarthy as their quarterback, and Rodgers seems likely to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers at some point. But it wasn't a pipe dream, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport said on the Pat McAfee show this week. Rodgers expressed interest in playing for the Vikings, and it was something that was seriously considered by Minnesota before they decided not to pull the trigger. I don't think the Vikings were a pipe dream for Aaron Rodgers, Rappaport said. I think it was at one point real enough to where I know he considered it, and I know the Vikings considered it. Because reality is, if you're any team that needs a quarterback and you have a 4-time MVP, future Hall of Famer saying, hey, you're someone I'd like to play for, you have to consider it. It is your job to consider it, whoever your quarterback is. And I think J.J. McCarthy's really talented. More important, the Vikings think J.J. McCarthy's very talented, but at least they had to consider it. Based on my conversations with Vikings, people in Palm Beach, based on what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah sold colleague Tom Pelissero on air there, they're all in on J.J. McCarthy. In recent weeks, both Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and O'Connell acknowledged that conversations with Rodgers took place. Neither came out and 100% shut the door on revisiting the idea, but it was made clear that it's not something that's happening anytime soon. That means Rodgers' options are to sign with the Steelers or try to wait out the Vikings. But even if he chooses to wait, which would have to be until at least August, the odds are that Minnesota still wouldn't come calling. That's why Rappaport said in a recent tweet that Rodgers knows now that wait would be futile. He expanded on that thought with McAfee. I had to think what would have to happen for the Vikings to say, all right, we're now not in and let's go sign Aaron. Rodgers, let's just say Rodgers waits, which I don't think he will, but let's say he does. It would have to be like through training camp for them to be like, all right, JS, not what we thought. We need a veteran. Let's go sign Rodgers. He's not going to wait that long. I don't even think that's going to happen because I would bet JJS going to be really good. So what I meant by Rodgers realized that wait is futile is he realized that if he waited, it probably still wouldn't happen. Him signing with the Steelers, I'm not going to say it's a fait accompli, but it certainly seems like the most likely thing to happen. Until Rodgers puts pen to paper with the Steelers, the possibility of him donning a Vikings uniform will remain, no matter how remote. But while it wasn't always a pipe dream, that's all it seems to be at this point. And now, Vikings fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Vikes. I'll be back any moment with more Vikings news. Skol, Vikings!